When life becomes unbearable, when the storms rage and everything outside of you seems to crumble, this is the moment many search frantically for help. They reach outward, grasping for hands, for signs, for something, anything to pull them from the chaos. But the greatest secret is this: the very thing you are searching for has never been outside of you. The presence you seek, the strength you long for, the peace you crave, it is all within. You see, there is a divine intelligence that lives in you, closer than your breath, nearer than your own hands and feet. It does not come when you cry out loud to the world. It responds when you remember who you are. In the silence of your soul, in the stillness where no one else can enter, you meet the true source of power. Not a distant deity, not a far-off force, but the infinite and creative power of your own inner being. In hard times, the temptation is always to run, to distract yourself, to numb yourself, to beg others to fix what you feel is broken. But every time you look outward for salvation, you deny your own divinity. You silence the quiet voice that already knows the way. And yet it waits. It waits for you to turn inward and see. This is not about belief in some abstract concept. It is not about religion or ritual. It is about direct experience. There is a still small voice inside of you, a presence that has never abandoned you, even when the world did. It is not loud, because it does not need to shout. It whispers, because it knows that truth does not need to be proven. It simply is. When everything falls apart, your mind may race, your emotions may scream, but beneath it all there is a calm observer, unchanging, unmoved, eternal. That is the divine within you. And when you recognize it, something shifts. The chaos doesn't vanish, but you stop being ruled by it. You become the eye of the storm. You find a strength that doesn't rely on external conditions. Imagination is the doorway to this power. You are not merely a body reacting to the world. You are consciousness itself, and you have the ability to create. The moment you close your eyes and feel what you wish to feel, you are stepping into communion with the divine. In your darkest hour, imagine yourself safe, whole, healed. Not as a fantasy, but as a reality already present in a higher dimension of yourself. When you persist in that feeling, the outer world will have no choice but to mirror it. It is easy to say I have faith when life is easy, but real knowing, the kind that moves mountains, is born in adversity. In hard times, you are not being punished. You are being called inward. You are being invited to remember your source. You are not being broken. You are being redirected to your true power. And that power does not live in the opinions of others, in your bank account, or in your circumstances. It lives in the seat of your awareness. To seek God in hard times is to stop looking out the window and start looking in the mirror. Not at your face, but at the soul behind your eyes. When you do, you realize that you are not alone, and you never were. You are one with the divine life that creates worlds. And from that place, all things are possible. So don't run, be still, turn inward, and remember who you are. That's where the healing begins. There is a vast difference between asking and assuming. One pleads from a place of lack, the other declares from a place of knowing. In difficult times, many fall to their knees, not in reverence, but in desperation, begging, hoping, fearing. They whisper prayers that come from doubt, not belief. But the truth is, the divine does not respond to panic. It responds to presence. You must not beg as if God is far away. You must assume the feeling that God is already here. Because God is already here, there is no separation. The very breath moving through you, the stillness beneath your thoughts, the awareness watching your fears, that is the presence of the divine. You do not need to earn it, chase it, or convince it to stay. You only need to feel it as if it were undeniable. This is the secret. This is the way. Assumption is not pretending. It is not about tricking yourself or faking belief. It is about stepping into a new reality internally, even before you see the evidence externally. It is about choosing to dwell in the awareness of God's presence, regardless of how loud the storm may seem around you. In your imagination, you must learn to feel the nearness of that presence, like a warm light, like a comforting embrace, like the steady ground beneath your feet. This feeling, this assumption, is more powerful than any spoken word. Words spoken without feeling are empty, but a quiet assumption made with conviction moves the unseen forces of life. When you assume that the divine is already with you, guiding you, loving you, and upholding you, something deep within begins to shift. Your mind may not understand it at first. Your senses may still scream of problems and pain, but your inner world begins to align with a higher truth, that you are never alone, and that what you seek is already within you. This is not wishful thinking. This is spiritual law. The outer world is only a reflection of the inner state. If you continue to beg, you reinforce the belief that God is absent. But when you assume the presence, you begin to create the conditions for miracles. Your thoughts change, your energy changes, you become receptive, calm and open. You begin to walk through life not as a victim of fate, but as a companion of the infinite. Feel it now. Feel as though you are already held in divine arms. Speak not as one asking for rescue, but as one who knows the rescue has already come. How would you speak if you knew you were loved beyond comprehension? How would you walk if you knew that every step was guided, every breath was sacred? That is how you must live. Not later, not when things improve, but now. Every time doubt arises, return to the feeling. Every time fear whispers lies, return to the feeling. Make it your dwelling place, make it your home. Not just in moments of meditation, but in the ordinary moments. While you wash dishes, while you walk, while you sit in silence. Assume it then. Assume it always. This is how you train your mind to see what is real and release what is false. God is not a force that comes and goes. God is the very fabric of your being. And when you assume that truth, when you feel it in your heart and carry it in your soul, you will find that everything you need begins to unfold. Not because you begged for it, but because you knew it was already yours. So stop waiting, stop pleading, begin to assume, begin to feel, begin to know. The presence is not coming, it is already here. All you must do is remember. There is an invisible law that governs your relationship with the divine. A law that does not respond to chaos, panic, or fear, but to the quiet stability of your inner state. Many cry out in pain, asking why their prayers go unanswered, why heaven seems silent. But they do not realize that it is not enough to ask for guidance. You must align with it, and that happens through your state of being. Your state is not what you say, or even what you think in fleeting moments. Your state is the deep emotional atmosphere you carry, your inner posture toward life. If you are constantly filled with worry, doubt, and turmoil, you are tuned to a frequency that cannot pick up the wisdom already surrounding you. That when you choose to rest in peace, even when the world gives you every reason to fall apart, that is when the voice of God becomes clear. This is not about pretending that pain doesn't exist. It's about refusing to be ruled by it. Even in sorrow, you can align with faith. Even in grief, you can choose trust. These are not passive states. They are powerful, deliberate acts of surrender. And when you hold them, something sacred begins to move through you. The answers you seek are not somewhere far away. They are already here, encoded in the silence, hidden in the now. But you must be still enough to hear them. Imagine trying to hear a whisper in the middle of a thunderstorm. That's what it's like when your soul is noisy with fear. The whisper is still there. It hasn't stopped. It's just drowned out by the noise of your own resistance. But when you quiet that storm, through breath, through stillness, through letting go of the need to control, you become receptive. You become soft enough to be led. You become a magnet for divine guidance. This is why people who have walked through suffering with grace often seem wiser, more radiant, more in tune. They did not avoid pain. They learned how to meet it without collapsing into it. They found peace not in the absence of struggle, but in the presence of surrender. And from that place clarity came. The path revealed itself, the right words, the right people, the right doors. They all appeared, not through striving, but through stillness. You must become the answer before the answer arrives. You must feel calm before the way becomes clear. You must embody faith before you see the outcome. This is the mystery, the paradox, the divine irony. The more you chase the solution from a state of fear, the further it seems. But the moment you rest in trust, the solution rises to meet you. You are always in communion with the divine, whether you recognize it or not. But it is only when you consciously choose to dwell in love, in faith, in peace, that this communion becomes powerful. You don't have to know how it will all work out. You only have to hold the vibration of trust long enough for life to match it. So when you are lost, do not panic. Go within. Breathe. Return to the stillness. Say silently to yourself, I am safe. I am guided. I am held. And feel it not as wishful thinking, but as truth. Do this not once, but repeatedly, until it becomes your foundation. Guidance does not shout, it whispers. It comes in dreams, in sudden knowing, in gentle nudges. And the more peaceful you are, the more clearly you will hear. Your state of being is your signal to the universe. Send out faith. Send out peace. And watch what returns. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the absence of resistance. In this sacred stillness, when the mind is no longer at war with the present moment, the truth that was always waiting begins to rise. In times of hardship, when the walls seem to close in and the future feels uncertain, the impulse is to do more, think more, struggle more, but that very impulse is what clouds the revelation. You do not find answers in the noise. You find them in the stillness behind the noise. You must learn to value silence, not as an escape from your problems, but as a return to the presence, where problems lose their power. This silence is not found in the world, but within you. It is a state of awareness where the ego has no voice and fear has no hold. When you withdraw from the frantic urge to fix, to panic, to beg for immediate resolution, You create space for clarity. That space is the doorway to revelation. Many search for signs, for voices, for something external to show them what to do next. But the answers do not come from out there. The answers are always whispered from within. And it is only when you are quiet enough to listen that they become audible. The truth never shouts. It waits for you to lower your defenses, soften your heart, and open yourself like a child, receptive, humble, ready. Stillness is the holy ground where God speaks, not in thunder, not in fire, but in a gentle knowing that comes without effort. In silence, the false self falls away. The identity built on fear, on control, on survival begins to dissolve. What remains is the real you, the one who has always been connected to the divine. And from that awareness, guidance flows naturally, not as a booming voice from the sky, but as an inner yes, an unshakable peace, a sudden realization that feels both surprising and familiar. To cultivate silence is to create a sanctuary in your being, a place untouched by the chaos of the world. And the more time you spend there, the more attuned you become to that subtle language of the spirit. You begin to notice patterns, feel inspired nudges, perceive synchronicities. What once felt impossible now feels inevitable, not because the world changed, but because your awareness did. There is nothing passive about silence. It is one of the most powerful states you can enter. It requires faith to be still when everything in you wants to act. It requires trust to wait when your mind demands urgency. But in this waiting, in this stillness, something eternal begins to move. You are not lost. You are not without help. You are simply distracted by the volume of your fear. Lower it. Let the thoughts pass like clouds. Let the emotions rise and fall like waves. And beneath all of it, you will discover the ground of being, the quiet, unshakable presence that is always guiding you, always holding you, always knowing the way forward. If you don't know what to do, don't do anything. Sit in the silence. Breathe. Trust that what you need will rise in its own perfect time. The urge to force an answer is the very thing that delays it. Let go. Fall into the stillness. Listen not with your ears, but with your spirit. And you will know. Silence is not empty. It is full of revelation. It is the sacred space where divine wisdom is remembered, not learned. Go there often, especially when life feels too loud, for in the quiet you will remember what you forgot, that you are never alone, never without guidance, and always one breath away from clarity. Imagination is not a childish game or idle daydream. It is the sacred language of the divine. Through it, you speak to the unseen, you commune with the infinite, and you shape the unseen substance of life into visible form. In times of despair or uncertainty, most people speak their fears, affirm their worries, and visualize their failures. They do this without realizing that the very act of imagining is a spiritual conversation, a declaration of faith in what is to come. And so, what they dread appears, not because they are being punished, but because they have unknowingly used the most powerful gift within them in the wrong direction. To seek God in hard times is not to cry out in helplessness, but to close your eyes and see yourself already delivered, already free, already whole. It is to lift your consciousness above the facts of the moment and dwell in the realm of divine possibility. Imagination is not pretending. It is selecting a higher truth and giving it life through feeling. You are not faking it. You are faithfully aligning with the reality that is more true than what your senses show. What you see in your mind's eye with conviction, you shall one day see with your natural eye. This is the mystery of all transformation. You do not wait for things to change to feel safe. You feel safe and things begin to change. You do not wait for the miracle to arrive. You embody it internally, and it begins to shape the external world around you. Can you sit still? Let it become still. Any pray that few imagine. And without imagination, prayer becomes empty words. You may ask God to make a way, but if you continue to picture yourself trapped, anxious, or lacking, you are working against the very thing you desire. Imagination must match intention. You must see it before you can receive it. When you visualize yourself safe, strong, uplifted, you are not lying to yourself. You are remembering who you truly are. You are reuniting with the divine blueprint that already exists in a higher realm. Your imagination is the bridge between this world and that one. And when you cross it not once, but repeatedly, faithfully, emotionally, you bring that higher truth into form. Imagination must be accompanied by feeling. It is not enough to see the picture, you must feel the reality of it. Feel the warmth of safety, the lightness of peace, the confidence of being divinely supported. Let it flood your body. Change your breath. Alter your posture. In doing so, you instruct your subconscious mind, and the subconscious always obeys the feeling it is given. In hard times, this becomes your lifeline. When everything around you says it's over, when circumstances try to convince you that you are forgotten, this is when you close your eyes and go within. See yourself rising. See yourself smiling again. See the doors opening, the burden lifting, the light returning. And hold that vision with tenderness and certainty. Not just once, but over and over, until it feels more real than what you see around you. This is not delusion. This is divine communication. The divine does not speak through fear. It does not speak through despair. It speaks through inner vision, through the language of possibility, through the images you dare to hold in faith. If you wish to commune with God, learn to use this gift. Cultivate it, nourish it, honor it. You are not at the mercy of circumstances. You are a creator, an imaginer, a vessel through which heaven touches earth. When you know this, you no longer ask, will I be okay? You begin to declare, I already am. And that declaration, when felt deeply, becomes your reality. Let your imagination be holy. Let it be bold. Let it be drenched in love, in hope, in certainty. For what you imagine, in alignment with truth, the divine fulfills without fail. Faith is not the quiet hope that things might someday improve. It is not the passive waiting for signs, nor the timid whisper of maybe in the face of the impossible. True faith is a bold, fearless assumption. It is the unwavering decision to embody a reality not yet seen, and to walk in the conviction that what you have imagined is already yours. Those people misunderstand faith as something fragile, as if it were a delicate flower easily crushed by the weight of the world. But real faith is power. It is substance. It is the unseen cause behind all visible effect. You do not possess faith simply because you believe in the existence of God. You possess faith when you dare to act from the place of what you have seen within. before any sign has appeared to confirm it. The world will tell you to be realistic, to wait and see, to trust only what can be proven. But faith asks something different of you. Faith requires that you become the evidence of what you cannot yet touch. You do not wait for healing, you walk as though healed. You do not wait for peace, you carry the stillness within your chest. You do not wait for abundance, you live with the heart of someone already full. This is not denial, this is alignment with a deeper truth, a higher law. To seek God in hard times is to shift your identity, not just your desires. It is to say, I am no longer the one pleading for rescue. I am the one who has already been delivered. You may not see it with your physical eyes yet, but that means nothing. What is real begins in the unseen, and faith is how you bring it forth. This bold assumption is not arrogance. It is spiritual obedience. For the divine has already answered. The supply, the healing, the peace, all of it exists now. It is your task not to wait for it to appear, but to live from the end, to inhabit the outcome as if it were already so. That is what causes the invisible to take form. There is no power in repeating affirmations if they are not felt. There is no power in prayer if it is laced with doubt. But when you assume the state of being that matches your desire, when you embody the feeling of the wish fulfilled, then all things must rearrange to reflect that state. The world cannot help but mirror your inner world. That is the law. You must understand that faith is not hoping that God will come through. Faith is knowing that God already has. It is the inner declaration, it is done. You do not need to beg, to chase, or to explain. You simply need to persist in the assumption of your chosen reality until the world conforms. And it will. It always does. When fear comes knocking, and it will, you do not fight it. You return to your assumption. You quiet the noise by stepping back into the feeling of fulfillment. You say within yourself, I remember who I am. I remember what is true. And you go on living from the reality that no one else can yet see, but that you know as certain as breath. This is not about pretending. It is not about ignoring facts. It is about understanding that facts change, circumstances bend. The outer world is clay in the hands of inner conviction. You are not a victim of life. You are the author, and faith is the pen. So live boldly, assume boldly. Let your imagination paint the scene and let your heart dwell in it. Let your actions, your thoughts, your words all flow from that assumption. For that is how faith moves mountains. Not by waiting, not by hoping, but by becoming. You are not waiting for a miracle. You are the miracle, made visible by the boldness of your assumption. When the world shakes beneath your feet and the answers seem far away, you must not forget where the true power lies. It is not outside of you. It is not in the opinions of others or in the unfolding of events. It is within. The divine is not distant. It is present in your awareness, your imagination, and the stillness of your own heart. You do not find God by chasing signs. You discover God by assuming the nearness, by walking as one who is already held, already guided, already whole. This journey is not about begging for help. It is about remembering who you are. It is about aligning with the quiet knowing that you are never alone, never abandoned. Faith is not waiting, it is becoming. And as you imagine rightly, as you hold fast to peace and rise above fear, the unseen begins to take form. And what was once only a vision becomes your lived reality. So in your darkest moments, do not seek the light, be the light. Assume the feeling of the answered prayer. Rest in silence. Use your divine imagination. And remember, what you believe within, you shall see without. Thank you for listening. Stay faithful, stay grounded, and above all, trust the power that lives within you.